Any appointments this evening? Just a couple of updates, and it's under old business, new business too. As you know, you had your classification hearing with the Board of Selectmen 2 weeks ago, and they signed off on the LA5, which I made a copy of and put in your packet, and submitted that evening of the 20th, and I think by Friday your tax rate is set.
Yeah.
So the residential tax rate will be $16.37, and the commercial tax rate will be $28.46. I put a copy of the tax rate recapitulation sheet in your packet also. I have one of two policies for your review this evening. I wanted to review the vacation leave and other leave form with the steward for the union one last time before I presented it to the board. She's been on vacation, I didn't realize that. So I think she gets back tomorrow, so I'll have that for your next meeting. And the other policy is regarding processing business certificates pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 110, Section 5. The background on that is we receive questions back and forth between the town clerk's office and the assessor's office. As you know, we're responsible for assessing all businesses and business personal property. Most businesses are required to file a form of list with our office. We send them out to the businesses that we're aware of. One way that we become aware of businesses is receiving information from the town clerk's office. When someone files a business certificate, the clerk will send us a copy of that so that we can process it in our office. But sometimes people will come to our office first. Mm-hmm. So because of questions that were raised between our office and the clerk's office, our office worked with the clerk's office to develop the policy that I'm presenting for hopefully your approval. It gives a recap of Mass General Laws, Chapter 110, Section 55. To boil that down to you, it means that anyone who operates a business in Massachusetts under a name other than their own name, so if it's doing business as, for example, they're required to file a form with the clerk's office. So this just lays that policy out stepwise. As you can see in the bottom of the first page, number one, the assessors, if they come to our office first, first of all, we'll acquaint ourselves with the statute. Second, if they come to our office, we send them to the clerk's office. The clerk's office will make a determination as to what paperwork they need to file, because some businesses will just change their name. They won't be a new business in town, but by statute they're required to file a change of name certificate with the clerk. So if we determine that it needs to be modified again, we'll send them to the clerk's office. And in the end, we'll be coordinating with the clerk's office. They will process 2 copies. They'll process a copy, send it to us. We'll process 2 copies, and 1 copy will be filed in the assessor's permanent property record card folder, and the other copy will be submitted to the vendor for processing.
Just a question. Mm-hmm. On the second page, number 2, it just says whenever individuals make an inquiry regarding the establishment or change of name, address, blah, 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 that the assessor staff is going to process it? Wouldn't that, I'm just confused.
We'll accept the relevant information pertaining to the business and the taxable status thereof, and then we'll send them to the clerk's office. So if they come to our office, they say, my name's John Doe, I've been doing business as John Doe's Donuts, but I'm changing it to Mary Doe's Donuts. We'll open up our records, we'll look at it, we'll make a determination if we have them, so we can just become familiar with what their status is with our office. Then we will direct them to the clerk's office.
All right, so ultimately, even with 2, you're just going to get the information, but you're still going to kick them over to
That's
the town
correct.
clerk,
That's correct.
who then is gonna take the information and give it to you again anyway, in theory.
Exactly right.
Okay. But now, number 3, it just says, if the assessor staff determines that a business certificate needs to be filed or modified or dissolved, then we're gonna explain that to the individual?
Mhm.
Wouldn't that be the town clerk to do that?
Yes, but we will be explaining to them why we're sending them to the town clerk's office. We can explain to them, oh, you're dissolving this business? That's fine that you came to us to let us know so that we don't tax you anymore. But you need to go down to the clerk's office and file a dissolution form with the clerk.
So really, these things are just basically saying, we're gonna send everybody over to the town clerk. In
Most cases, yeah, in most cases.
What's the case that we wouldn't send them?
If they were doing business in the town of East Bridgewater and came to the wrong office. I'm not trying to be
Well,
facetious.
that's, right, but no, I understand.
I'm
If
trying to think
they
of
have no
some-
business in.
Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility that they don't need to go down the hall.
Right, if they're in the wrong town, they're in the wrong town.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I was just curious why we wouldn't send them over there, from what you're
I would
explaining.
say 99.9% of the time we'll probably send them down. But we want to capture what information we can from them before we send them down the hall. Because sometimes they don't understand what we're instructing them to do, and they might go to the clerk's office, they might give the clerk's office the information, and then walk out the door. So at least we can be aware that they were supposed to interact with the clerk's office. We can ask the clerk, did so-and-so come, did they stop by? And maybe they didn't, maybe they just walked right up town hall. So at least we've made contact and we've gathered some information, and if we need to follow up with the clerk's office in that scenario to say, they came here, they told us they changed the name of the business, we told them to go to your office, evidently, whatever. An emergency came up, they didn't have time, they had to scoot.
Right,
We at least know what their status is. We might be able to contact them because we might have their telephone number in our records. The clerk may have their telephone number, the clerk may be able to contact them. But we essentially want to make sure that we're communicating more between the clerk's office and our office.
okay. Right,
So a motion would be in order to adopt policy number 2019-05.
I'll make a motion to adopt this policy John just said, 2019-05.
well, should we wait before we, well, no, I'm just saying
No, if you
because,
want to, that's
well,
fine.
no, I'm just saying because every time, like, when
Mhm.
Cheryl's been out or
Yeah.
Steve,
You
Steve
want to-
always
Okay.
tables stuff out of courtesy, so I'm just asking.
I don't think he would
Well,
mind.
you could second it, and you could wait to take a vote on it.
I'm just looking for an opinion.
Why don't you second it and then we'll take the vote on it after? I'm sure it's not gonna be a problem with Steve, he's gonna want it.
No, you're right, it probably won't be, I'm just thinking of courtesy, that's all.
I don't think he would mind. We can get the first part of it done and then take the vote. If he has a question on it, he can question it.
Is that something we can just make the motion and not actually vote? I mean, it seems to go hand in
You could
hand.
in my opinion, you could make a motion, you could second it, and you could defer the vote until the chairman gets here. At least it's on the table, you put it on the table, you can take it back off the table when he gets here and put it to a vote.
Well, yeah, I'd like to do that, just simply because Steve is,
I made the motion.
okay, no, I second it,
Motion, second, put it on the table.
for the table.
The only other business in open session would be the applications that are before you for chapter land. There are some bills, there are some warrants, oh, and there's minutes, of course. Have you received a text yet? There's some other paperwork that will be coming down. You have minutes for November 20th. Oh, these are open session minutes. November 20th, I'm going backwards. November 6th, October 16th, October 2nd, September 18th. Likewise, you could make a motion to accept and second and put these on the table for a vote when the chairman arrives.
Because there was a couple of the meeting minutes I had. September 18th. On the third page, we had the paragraph that starts, Member Bunker stated that it appears that many older executive session minutes, the last line, it says, but understands Chairman McCarthy and Cheryl and Clerk Smith concerns with open meeting law violations. I think it was, I'm just confused on that sentence. It sounds like I think I was the one that was more concerned with open meeting law violations. They didn't feel that it was.
I'm just reading the whole paragraph.
Yeah, no, I understand.
It appears that many older executives have not been released in a long time. The principal assessor stated executives are reviewed periodically, but could be reviewed again. He also stated that he has been preparing open session, executive session for over a year, although it's not true, which is part of the reason why I asked principal secretary to start taking this to me. Member Bunker stated that she would be happy to help with the minutes, but understands Chairman McCarthy and Clerk Smith's concern with open meeting law violations. Any recollection of that, Daniela?
I think what that was that we were concerned that they were always being pushed off and not getting voted on and accepted. That's what we were concerned with, if I remember right. That
Okay.
we were trying to get them done.
And you recollect differently?
Right, I remember it, well, because I seem to be the one bringing up open meeting law violation potentials.
Oh, because of the timeline.
Right.
Executive.
So I can see where the confusion would be.
Yeah,
I just
okay.
would feel better if that was clarified a little more.
All right, do you want to clarify it? Do you want to delete it? Do you want to reword it?
Well, I mean, that part,
Why don't you just delete it?
take it out,
Just delete it.
and then maybe just in that top line of the paragraph, just state that I'm concerned of open meeting law violations.
Along with Chairman McCarthy and Smith. But they're not getting posted and accepted in a timely manner.
Well, it's not that they're not being accepted in a timely manner. There's a lot of older ones that haven't even been presented, especially for executive.
But there's a reason for it. They weren't ready to be.
I find it hard to believe that, over a year's worth aren't ready?
Are there any in there that are a year, John?
Oh, they very well could be. It's the bottom line would be final adjudication
Right.
of whatever matters.
That's the only reason.
And the chairman and I do review them from time to time. And the last time we looked at them, which was probably a month or two, maybe more, there were some cases that
Weren't done yet.
could have been appealed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll have to check the clock on
Mhm.
that. We can do that. But more to the deletion or amendment, I'm just,
Well, I wouldn't go crazy with it. I would just do it as, as we said it, that we were both concerned with the open meeting law. Being myself and Steve were concerned that they weren't getting done, they weren't getting approved
Well, some of them weren't being
quickly enough.
Some of them weren't being approved because we're getting them less than 24 hours before the meeting. And I'm sorry, I don't have time always to.
I mean, they're
To
only,
do them.
they're only a page
What
or a
we-
page
what
and
we
a half.
can-
I don't think it's that much.
if I could
I understand,
suggest,
but I
Read
don't necessarily always have time to, or I don't see them.
if I could, excuse me, I'm sorry. I would just suggest that you can review the videotape, right? And just see what was discussed in that lesson.
That's fine.
We'll work on that language.
No, that would be good.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, no problem.
Just trying to find solutions,
No.
or suggest solutions.
Nope, it's a good thing.
So, that's September 18th. So we could, unless there's anything else.
No, that one,
Sorry.
no, that's it, and that one we'll just wait for Daniela just to review that portion, and then we'll just deal with it then.
Yeah. So,
Sorry I'm late.
good evening.
Good evening. What did I miss? Anything good?
Not yet, but there's plenty of time. So we're just on the minutes, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
So I had presented November 20th, November 6th, October 16th, October 2nd, and September 18th. There's a question about one of the paragraphs on September 18th.
Okay.
So I'll take that off the table,
Okay.
but a motion, so that leaves a motion to approve November 20, November 6th, October 16th, and October 2nd would be in order.
Okay.
Okay, so October 2nd, I think we just have a small error.
She wants this stuff.
Not your name again.
No, not my name again, thank you for spelling it right this time. Third page. Third page says Chairman McCarthy made a motion to accept the policy to the record. Clerk Smith seconded the motion, vote 201, I think it should be 210.
Which paragraph? You said
Third page.
right?
Second,
Second
starts
paragraph?
Chairman McCarthy, it's the votes wrong.
Yeah. So October 2nd as amended.
And then I just have another question about it, but it doesn't affect the accepting of them. So if that correction's made, then I have no problem with that one.
So the motion would be in order to accept the minutes of November 20, November 6th, October 16th, and October 2nd as amended. And you'll,
I'll make a motion to accept those minutes, as John stated.
Second.
All,
Aye.
What?
did you
all
vote?
those in favor?
All in favor?
Are you-
voting yes?
you
Nobody
pa-
called for a vote.
are you
Or,
passing-
I mean,
Are you passing the gavel back to the chairman?
No, you can have it.
yeah, nobody seemed to know who was in charge there.
If you have the temporary gavel, we'll tell you what. Gavel, gable, whatever, you keep it tonight, okay? Please, my pleasure.
Call for a vote, please.
I have the vote.
All those in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 300.
All right.
And you said that was with the amendment, just to correct the
Yes.
vote.
So I will give the clerk November 20, November 6th, and and October 16th for signatures, and then
Okay.
we'll correct October 2nd. Could you text Tammy and ask it to change paragraph 2
Okay.
on page 3 of October 2nd, please? And then print. Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, there's a item on the table, so a motion to take the item off the table would be in order. I'm sorry, Chairman, Clerk Chairman, a
Yes,
motion to take the policy off the table.
a motion to
Is
take
in
the
order.
policy off the table is in order.
Okay.
Second, and a vote to take it off the table.
Did you make, is there been a,
It's real quick, it's real quick. It's just,
is there been a call for that?
This is just
I'll make-
procedural.
It was the-
You made a motion to what? To do that?
To take it off the table.
Okay.
You seconded
I
it,
second it, yeah.
call for a vote
All
to take
those
it
in
off the
favor?
table.
Aye.
Did you even want to know what it was first?
No. I don't.
Now, it's a policy for processing business certificates. The board discussed it. There was a motion made
That's fine, yeah.
to
we're-
approve
that's
it.
fine, Yeah.
There was a second. but they tabled it.
Till you came.
Yeah, I'm sure, right, it was in the best interest of the office of the town, so
That's
I
right.
trust you guys on those policies, so.
Okay.
All I have to do is call for the vote.
Yeah, no problem.
Madam
Kevin,
Clerk
call.
Chairman, all those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
But I-
Opposed?
3-0.
3-0.
No one's
Thank you.
opposed, no.
I'm losing track of my eyes over here.
I'm getting all confused.
Yeah. My mind's going there.
That's all I have for open session. So a motion,
Oh, here's your pen.
oh, thank you.
Before we do, I do have a couple questions,
Sure.
please. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, well, she's chair. go
All
ahead.
right, sorry, I wasn't sure who's in charge. Well, you're in the wrong spot, so I look over
No.
there.
That's all right, what do you got?
All right, just a couple of quick questions. A couple months ago, I brought up the meeting that I went to, the clerk's meeting. Did they ever get signed up?
Yes.
Access to that? So they are all set, you guys have full
I
access?
think it was on the warrant for your signature. I think that was.
I don't
one.
know.
Haven't they gone, they've gone year after year, haven't they?
No, to make them members, to make them
Oh, so-
members.
Yeah, it
of
was like
the-
$100 to make them members, so they
Yeah.
have access, and because it also offers them
They-
an online site.
Have they,
Did I bring that? I'm sorry.
have they always had their organization?
No, they were associate members. And they had all the rights and privileges to participate and attend, but they didn't have the right to.
What was that, every year they went down to Westport for something?
Yeah, they
yeah.
attend the course.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they can go to meetings, but
Yeah.
one of the other things they offer too is just like a chat group essentially, where they can email each other, ask questions, find out how things are done.
They're gonna copy Dave Beck
I
from
don't think I
Hull.
brought the warrants.
He does that for spreadsheets and such. He offers, if you reciprocate, he's since retired. Remember Dave Beck and Hull? He did the
Yes.
same thing. If I sent him, sales of this, of churches, he'd sent me sales, and so that was invaluable when you look at certain things.
Yes, sir.
Like, when,
Yeah, well, that's why I figured it just seemed like it would help them, especially when they have questions about how to do stuff, where both are still relatively new.
yeah, and that's true, except for, and I'm in total agreement, but all you gotta do is call next door to Easton. They know that, and those gals, unless it's a chapter land or something, then you call down to Libby Bay, so it's good to have that, but, on certain questions, right, who to go to,
Well, yeah, there's different ones, absolutely, but I know the girl in Easton, she's only been there a couple of years, so I understand she's very knowledgeable, but
Well, there's more than one gal there in Easton, yeah.
Yeah, I heard you were hanging around there the other day.
Well, my office is about 7 feet from there.
The word gets out on you.
Have you been over there? It's a former, it's an Ames estate, it's
Yeah,
beautiful.
My dad grew up in Easton.
Well, you've been to Town Hall?
Yeah, I used
That's
to.
one of those McMansions over there, it's beautiful.
It is.
As a kid, I used to
Yeah.
explore all over that place.
What
It is a beautiful.
What I don't
beautiful-
get, and I'll say, what I don't get, it's like down in Middleborough, over in Easton, when the taxpayers come in, like say for an exemption, in the annex in Middleborough, one of those, they make them schlep up to the third floor. In Easton, it's a separate, it should be, because they get a lot of taxpayer,
Yeah.
and it should be a
Should be on
ground
the
level.
first floor, that's right.
It used to be.
But
So
that's-
that's them, we're us, I'm all
That's an
set.
executive pay grade decision.
I don't get that, because I know Easton, they
Yeah, I
watch
don't
out for it,
either.
yeah.
It's one of the busiest offices, and obviously, people with applications for abatement.
No, everything.
Chapter land,
Yeah.
people with exemptions,
Yeah.
and I don't want to make any politically incorrect statements, but some people find it easier to do business on the first floor.
Absolutely.
all right, the other question I had is, a couple of times we've brought up and talked about keeping an eye on the budget to make sure that we always have enough money allotted to make sure Daniela can stay and continue doing this, because
And
obviously
you have money
it's
to pay
very
for my
invaluable.
courses, all that money.
Exactly, it's to pay
Keep
for
me
everything
happy.
Steve needs to keep him going here.
Yeah,
You know.
I just signed up another one, yeah,
Uh-oh.
yeah. Gotta get my license renewed, one more.
One of
There you
these
go.
days, you're gonna be
Be licensed out.
the top of the pops.
Well, they cut it down every 2 years now, they're killing us.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
right.
every 3, it's a
Right.
turnover.
And they increase the fee.
Yeah,
Costs more for a shorter term period of time.
yeah, that use path I'm gonna take is like, whatever it is, it's increased all the time. And, obviously, I don't mind, it's getting educated, but they are putting a lot on you, banging those courses out every year in, year out.
What I was gonna say is, you brought it up so many times, it just had me concerned, and I know I had emailed about that, I'll say back at maybe the end of October, beginning of November, and I wanted to.
Email about the budget.
The budget, that there seemed to be some concerns, and I wanted it on an agenda, so maybe we could talk about it, and just for all of us to understand where we are, and I haven't seen it yet. So I would like that maybe on the
But it
next
hasn't
agenda.
been, we haven't been running any deficits, have we?
No,
It hasn't been a problem.
Um,
So why, you know, I mean,
Well, I'm asking about it because John's brought it up several times, saying, you know, we got to make sure we have the money in this. So it seems to be a concern. And when I brought up about giving the girls that access for $500,
I just, that's fine, John brought up, I don't think it's a concern at all.
I would like to know.
I've been
whether-
here since '05, Cheryl, we've never had, sometimes you might say, is there enough there or something, I agree with that, but there's no concern there, as far as I can see, that's, you know, heavily weighted to draw our discussion on, you know, what we should do in case there is, because there really hasn't been, has it, John? Any,
No, as a matter of fact, Daniela and I sat down on Monday and reviewed the budget, and we, I don't have any concerns right now. If I have concerns,
No, right,
I'll bring them to
absolutely,
your
yeah, yeah.
attention.
In other years, you know, like when somebody's left, there's been money, you know, but we've never had to say, you know, you can't get paid for the last 2 weeks that you work, because, you know, there's not the real tight concerns.
not right.
Everywhere I've been, there's always been concerns year to year about certain things, you know. But thank God, I don't know what they do here in other towns, sometimes personal services can't touch ordinary maintenance. You can't, I don't know what they do here. Like if there's money left over in her, can we buy books with it somewhere else?
Right.
Some towns you can't do that.
That's
They
correct.
separate those budgets,
Right, but we're bottom line.
right, but and that makes it easier for us.
Right,
As opposed
I
to,
know.
right, yeah, so. Because our personal services is what? It's probably a third of our budget, right? You know?
Yes, probably more than
Yeah,
that. Probably more like 2/3.
right.
Just two things before the board goes into executive session. These are the exemptions that we talked about earlier. And you must have the warrants, but I don't see them on the table. So I'm concerned about that.
We
What are
are
those, what are those?
eyeballing these things.
Those are ones to be signed, John?
These are exemptions,
To be signed?
veterans to be signed. These are chapter land. Have you signed these?
I haven't touched anything yet. I was going through all the paperwork you left.
Can you find those that can be signed without the warrants being on the table here?
Yes, I just
Yeah.
want to make you aware.
The warrants are around, obviously, you know, you gotta,
Please sign them before.
we gotta
you
tally
leave
ho for the
hall.
town, yeah.
Before you leave town hall.
We gotta tally ho for the town on the warrant.
All right, so then would that be a problem then if I come in tomorrow to look at the budget book and just go over it?
Not at all.
Okay.
Where's the warrants? Daniela, where's the warrants? So, the board, Mr. Chairman, the board can sign those now during executive session, after executive session, but please before you leave.
Are we executive, are we in?
Not yet,
No, no.
but please before you leave town hall, if I could get your signatures on. These are all chapter land, those are veterans exemptions. I don't see the warrants, so,
What is it, a big thick pile, you can see right here that you don't have them?
these look like all chapter land to me. Yeah, it should be. I gave them to you, right, Cheryl, because they had payroll on them, correct? It's not in any of your paperwork?
No, I haven't touched any of that stuff yet. I touched nothing. Out there.
It's not
Here?
on your end of the table, I don't see it.
No.
No,
They have to be in the office. I just don't know why they didn't come with the other. Paula,
Thanks, Danielle.
could you please hand me those two files?
you want to sign this, Steve?
Just to see if they got into the file. That would be the only.
And the only last thing I had, just want to double check, so the 11th through the 17th of December is when you're on vacation still? Okay. Just want to make sure nothing's changed.
Nothing except warrants. Mr. Chairman, a motion is in order to enter executive session
Talk to the Madam Chairman here?
relative to applications for abatement. I don't think there would be any discussion of exemptions. Relative to Purpose 7, Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 60, and to review and discuss strategy of pending appellate tax board cases relative to Purposes 3 and 7, Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 60, because to do so in open session could have a detrimental effect on the board's litigating position, and to review and accept and approve any qualified executive session minutes relative to Purposes 3 and 7 Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 60, and not to reconvene in open session, except to sign any paper.
Make a motion to go into executive session
Ms.
for
Payroll.
the reasons
Yeah.
John just cited,
Yeah,
and not to reconvene in
Where
the
did you find
open
out?
This is
session.
just at the bottom here.
Make a roll call.
Roll call,
Uh,
Chairman McCarthy,
Yes.
Member Bunker,
Yep.
Cheryl Smith, yes.